Hello, Namaste. I honor the divine in you, that divine which is in all things. My name is Timothy Halloran. I am an astrologer located in Savannah, Georgia. You can purchase astrology readings from me at the link below. Today is Wednesday, February 8th, 2017. 2 days before our first eclipse of our springtime eclipse season. We've got a lunar eclipse at 22 degrees of Leo on Friday, February 10th. And so astrologers oftentimes get a hard time for always saying that it's an intense, powerful time. And what else can I say? I mean, there is so much fiery, passionate, energetic, even physical energy, which is rippling throughout the collective consciousness at this time. Chances are we can really feel it the way that we tend to feel a flame or fire that is burning within us. And so, first of all, let's talk about all of this fire, because we've got Aries time kind of happening before the sun goes into Aries, because we have Mars in Aries and Venus just joined Mars and Uranus in the sign of Aries last Friday, February 3rd. And Venus is going to be chasing Mars through the rest of the month before turning retrograde at the beginning of March. But she never actually passes Mars. And so when Venus and Mars come together in Aries, this is a very powerful, creative direction and energy. Venus-Mars cycle has to do with how we are sharing and spending and using our energy together as relationships. And in the sign of Aries, it very much has to do with the creation of a new direction. And so much of this fiery, passionate, restless energy can very much be yearning to create new directions, to bust out of the old, and to transform, to instigate change. And there is opportunity, so much opportunity at this time. We can really change our identity, who we are, what our purpose is, what drives us, what motivates us, what's the reason we wake up in the morning, as well as how we relate to the other. What is our mutual goals? What is our shared direction? How do we relate to one another in our individuality and in our harmonious, collaborative, intimate time? And this dynamic between the self and other is very much being highlighted with Jupiter stationed now at 23 degrees of Libra opposite to Uranus in Aries. So Jupiter stationed just a couple days, officially on Monday the 6th. But Jupiter is not moving barely at all through the rest of this month of February. He's just going to begin crawling backwards. And so Jupiter retrograde is when we start a major self-reflection in terms of our direction and very much about perspective. Jupiter is the planet of philosophy, the planet of the sages. Jupiter is called Guru in Vedic astrology. Jupiter is our ontology. It is our own philosophy, perspective, whether it be science, religion, etc., that helps us to discern our surrounding reality. This is what an ontology is, whether it be science, philosophy, religion, nature. We all have various systems, methods, stories, belief that forms, that constructs our very relationship to our reality. And when Jupiter turns retrograde, this journey of discovering and comprehending the reality which surrounds us turns introverted. It starts to really question itself. What is our philosophy? What is our direction? What is our truth? Now Jupiter, again, is stationed at 23 degrees Libra. Libra is what? The sign of the other, the sign of relationship, the sign of balance, harmony, collaboration, creation, sharing what we value outwardly with others. And so Jupiter just turning retrograde is going to make us question, how are we sharing, how are we connecting, how are we collaborating with others? And chances are that dynamic is changing It has the opportunity to evolve, to improve, to become more useful, to connect with others that really value the same things that we do, and giving us opportunities to form self-identities, initiate directions, and work to share what we really value with others. For the formation of groups, movements, and directions. We've talked about how this whole year is a year of forming directions, groups, connections, coming out of what we are feeling stirred and pressured by, and oftentimes what we don't like, what we're seeing in the world. But there is this formation and there is this creation. Now, the dynamic between all of this Aries energy, fiery, intense, passionate, so much physical energy is cooking up, and will continue to cook up through the rest of this month as Mars is moving up to Uranus at the very end of the month on Sunday, February 26th. And so the energy is going to continue to get more and more exciting, more restless, more physical. And we need to have physical outlets, yeah? We need to have the little hatchet to pick up, to chop some wood, or the bicycle to take around the block, anything. Because we're going to have this cooking up and stirring up of passionate, restless, and instinctually reactive energy. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac ruled by Mars, which has to do with gut instinct, instinctual reaction. Whatever sign you have on the ascendant rules the first house, Aries, is how we instinctually react to what's around us. And so, when we're full of restless energy that wants to be released, that wants to form new directions, that wants to transform and create new things, and yet it's not totally quite happening yet because we're chiseling away, way paving and groundbreaking these new directions, well, it's easy that little things can upset us, such as the fly that won't leave us alone, or the partner who is chewing too loud, or something like this. There's a lot of reactive instinctual energy. We need to have physical outlets to get this out, to feel productive, even if everything's not perfectly squared away yet. And there can be a theme generally of creative frustration with all of this, with there being a full moon partial lunar eclipse in Leo on Friday. This is the creative center of our solar system, is the sun. And the Leo function is a releasing of that pent-up solar life energy. The way the sun releases its sexual creative energy out onto the solar system, impregnating the planets with life. All of this passion, all of this life, all of this yearning and burning creativity wants to take form, wants to be music and art and groups and sharing and new directions, etc. Whatever it may be, Leo is about shining who you uniquely are. And we'll talk about how who you uniquely are is something that's different. It's different from other people. It's different from the world. It's different from society. It's different from what's been done before, in the past. You are something unique, brilliant, groundbreaking in itself. Because though you may be a product of the past, you are different from the past. You were produced out of the past as something fresh and new, and we have the opportunity to continuously rebirth and change this product into another product, etc. So, Leo, another solar, fiery, creative, yearning, burning, release. I want to get this out of me. You know, Leo is like the actor or the opera singer. Ooh, it's just let it out. It's letting out the vibrations and letting them reverberate through space, outwardly, outwardly, outwardly. Leo is yang, solar energy. Let's get it out of here. Let the cat out of the bag is the intention with this lunar eclipse and with this Aries energy. And Uranus being at 21 degrees Aries, inviting us to liberate ourselves, our own inner pioneer, our own genius, wants to take priority and authority. And it is via our uniqueness, which makes us different from everybody else, which bestows us our creative gifts. what makes you different, your history, your past, even the things that weren't fun, even the ways you got taunted and abused that are uniquely yours and separate from others, inevitably becomes a gift to you because there are tools, there are realizations, there are discoveries, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, which you alone will discover via your own unique experience, which becomes your gift, your art, your beauty, and your creation to share and release with others. This is all Leo stuff. And yet between that solar Leo energy, between Venus coming up to Mars but not quite completing that circle before she turns retrograde the first week of March, there is a theme of creative frustration. Because that cycle just barely isn't completing, and it's not going to complete until, I believe, later in April or May. And so there is this general theme of so much that wants to be released, so much that wants to take a direction. The bar can be set very high. And yet it may not perfectly work right away. There is this, the North Node still in Virgo through May. And this is a very important time because we're going into eclipse season. How can you tell something is an eclipse in a birth chart, by the way? Well, a new moon is when the moons conjoin the sun. A full moon is when the moon is opposite the sun. Whenever you see that conjoinment or that opposition between the sun and moon within 10 degrees of the moon's nodes, it is an eclipse. And so this lunar eclipse is a partial eclipse. It's 9 degrees from the moon's nodes, but we are entering eclipse season. At the end of this month is a solar eclipse in Pisces, followed by a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March. And this is interesting because for the last year and a half we've had eclipses on the Pisces-Virgo polarity. Every spring and fall time for the last year and a half it's been Pisces-Virgo theme. And that is completing this springtime eclipse season, beginning with this lunar eclipse in Leo. In May, the moon's nodes will move into the Leo-Aquarius polarity. Until then, we've still got the moon's north node in Virgo. For the last year and a half it has been about readjusting, fine-tuning, rectification, making sure the bits and pieces are working well, making sure that we are in our body, that everything is healthy. We have been establishing healthy boundaries. We've been pulling ourselves out of fantasy-ridden idealism and naivety through the last 1.5 years. Oh yeah, yeah. And we're not quite finished with that yet. We are culminating and completing themes of becoming the master of health in our body, becoming the master of healthy boundaries, so we can manage our own energy system and our own environment in a way to be comfortable and sufficient in a practical, grounded, earth-centric way. Whereas Leo gets very grandiose and Pisces gets very idealistic and romantic. And it can be troubling to release all this creativity and to make it all happen perfectly up to our ideal standard, what we imagine or feel in our heart. Well, it's one step after the next with the North Node in Virgo. And now is the opportunity. We've got the next 3 months to do our cleansing, to do our diet, our rescheduling, to get in the most healthy physical tip-top shape possible. So that way we can step into being the leaders, the organizers, the creators that we are and yearn to be. And so we have to harness this Leo full moon energy. We are pushing in that direction, yeah? And so generally, with the North Node still in Virgo, this is like uncorking time. This is like that energy is pushing, 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 and it's pushing shit out of the way. And that's not always a comfortable process. And it's not necessarily flowing yet either. It is pushing. This needs to go. This is the time to see what is not healthy, what is getting in your way, and change those things. Change whatever is getting into your way. Change whatever is unhealthy or is not working, because this is like fire in the hole. That's this creative frustration, is back and forth, and that is the Jupiter-Uranus opposition as well. T-square to Pluto at 18 degrees Capricorn. It's very, very intense reverberation between the Libra dynamics to other relationship. We've got a Venus retrograde coming up. That's going to remain a theme these next several months. Relationship harmony. How are we working with others? Are we mutually respecting? Are we hearing one another? Jupiter in Libra is about listening and understanding to the other in an open and unbiased way. And that is where the expansion, the learning, and the growth is happening, is through listening to the other and then changing our own identity, our own direction in order to reciprocate what the other is offering so we can work together harmoniously and collaboratively in a productive, nice way. And so all of that connectivity and finding the groups, new people, etc., this remains a big theme, is opposite to Uranus, which is, you know what, I'm brilliant and I have my own desires and my own things that I need to do and I need this much time and I need this much space, okay? And that can be this back and forth. I love you, but I gotta get away from you. I gotta get away from you, but I miss you. And reverberating back and forth, our own self-identity, our drive, our purpose, and our connection to the other is changing throughout time. Now, this creative frustration is there to invite and alert us of the limitations that need to go. It's not our job to assume or to think that we can just bust through the steel roof without some effort. It does take effort, it does take patience, and patience is like the number one virtue at this time. So it takes redundant, it does take, you know, the mechanism of reverberation. It does take trial and error to get things moving, but we are simultaneously fanning the flames, keeping the fire going. The steam locomotive is still pulling out of the train station. And so, when it comes to limitation, this is the Leo Aquarius lesson. When we reach that edge of limitation, when we reach the stagnant blockages that are keeping us imprisoned, that are keeping us limited to the patterns of the past, that are imprisoning us from being the fullest actualization of our own power and potential, when we hit that edge of limitation, we as human beings have the power to create. If something is not working, leave it alone, let it dissolve, do it differently. This is not the time to continue doing what we know is not working, because we redundantly live it not working again and again and again and again. And that's a huge part of this frustration too, is I'm sick of this. I'm sick of feeling this way. I'm sick of this experience. I'm sick of this circumstance that maybe I've been living with for a decade or was born with, and I'm sick of it, and you should be. And that divine discontent and that frustration can be fueled to the fire that encourages you to be a creator, an inventor, a pioneer of change. Whenever we meet the box, is the creative frustration, and we hit one wall, and then we move the other direction, we hit another wall, we move the other direction, we realize we're boxed in, we are trapped. We need the potency of creativity, Leo. The understanding that we are divine is Leo. We wonder why the Leo caricature is the person who's full of themselves and gets ahead of themselves, because Leo is the reality of being a child of God, a co-creator of reality. And so yeah, the head can get a little too big when we overinflate in terms of that. And that's why Virgo follows Leo, which is the humbling and the coming back down to earth, and I'm a child of God, but I'm also a servant of God, etc. And so Leo is that creative power, however. It is divine. You are a child of God. You were made in the image of God. You can do everything that God has done in many respects by connecting yourself to the whole. And that's where the most power and potency to change is happening this year. Is can we restructure our lives to have meaning and significance that comes full circle back to the whole, because this world is in need of us, is in need of our creative brilliance and our genius and our pioneering trailblazing. We need to be those co-creators and those inventors. The world is literally forming us, is sculpting us into being that at this time. And so what you are is different from what's been done before. There will always be more dimensions, higher and lower. And when we get trapped in that box, we have to create solutions on a different level than the problems were formed. The classic Einstein quote that is the genius of lifting yourself out of the square, of the box, of the limitation via creative tension, creative frustration that redundantly shows us the problems until, without giving up effort, without giving up purpose, and remembering that we have the power to always overcome even the most difficult, limiting, impossible situations. You were born with this disorder. You were born in this situation. You were born with no money. We don't need to carry around those burdens. We can change those things. All of these things can be changed. Even the things we don't have solutions for yet is what we are being asked to investigate. So that way we can become those creators and those brilliant inventors that takes us beyond where we have always been before. And so, with Mars coming up square to Pluto at the end of February on the 22nd, and then Mars on Uranus February 26th, this is like wild satyr energy. Rah! It's the horses running, it's the sexual desire shooting everywhere, it's the passion, it's the anger, it's the frustration, and that is our human drive. The centaur represents the human being. Mars in Aries is that lower horse animal half. It's our power, it's our energy, it's what we use as fuel to be led and steered by the human half. That is compassionate, that is understanding and comprehending of the other, of the world we live in, and generally wants us all to work together in a way that's nice and not just fight or dominate and rape and pillage. That's the lower animal nature when it goes uncontrolled and unrestrained. And we are learning to harness that energy, which means do not shoot down the satyr, do not deny your animal nature, do not deny your sexual nature. You will end up very, very ensnared and tripping over yourself. We have to respect and honor the animal nature, but not let it dictate our lives. And so that's the major challenge. But then on the 18th, not this approaching Saturday, but the next Saturday, the sun moves into Pisces and will be followed by a Pisces solar eclipse at the end of the month on the 26th. And this is our opportunity to unite that energy and drive with our heart, our ideals, our be-all, end-all goals, and the compassion that unites our own individual endeavors back with the world and back with the collective. And so this is really exciting, fast-paced, energetic times. In 6 months after this eclipse season closes, between all the Uranus, Pluto, Jupiter, T-square, and these eclipses, this is powerful energy. You will be a completely different person in 6 months from now. And that's what we want. We can probably sense the potential that we are being gifted. We don't always have that opportunity to go so far and so fast in such a short amount of time. Well, we are feeling it right now. And so, seize the day, my friends. Don't beat yourself up or trip over your shoelaces or get upset that your shoelace became untied in the first place, because we're human beings. We can't expect to get it all perfect right away. But through this North Node in Virgo, do your working out, do your health, do your diet, do everything you can to uncork that energy and just keep it moving. It's not about having everything perfect right away. You don't need to be a multimillionaire in a house with 10 charities in order to be successful. Keep the energy moving, keep it recycling, and things are moving in a very, very productive direction. And so I wish you all the best in that endeavor. So in my own effort to keep the energy moving, I am hosting my first Q&A session this Sunday the 12th. For any of you who might have one or couple astrology-related questions, I have no idea what it's going to be like, how many people will show up, how exactly it will go. It is an experiment, but you can purchase a ticket at the link below, and I will do my best to answer any questions we have and see what comes out of that. Other than that, I'm meeting more and more faces that are attending Astrology Rising in Costa Rica, May of 2017. really exciting opportunity to connect with like minds and soul family. And other than that, it's such a pleasure for me to come out here into nature in Georgia. I love to come out here, feel stable, and talk to you guys from here, and to continue to offer my readings, to be able to meet like minds and talk about this wonderful gift that is astrology. We really are so blessed to have this map and this little heads up when things are as exciting as they are in this day and age. And so it is such a supreme pleasure and honor to connect with you all, to share these things. And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and am excited to see what comes next. Much love. Namaste.